We're going back to the beginning. Welcome, friends. We are going to be doing some budget-friendly DIY home decor using some Dollar Tree items. Going a little bit old school. I know Dollar Tree prices have gone up, and yeah, I a lot of times can find a better deal at Dollar General or Hobby Lobby, especially with the clearance finds. But there are still some items that are worth buying at the Dollar Tree, and I think that these are make for some really good bases for some projects. I'm going to be using other items from my stash from various places in order to complete the projects, but the base of them is going to be from Dollar Tree, and I'm excited to share these with you. We are going to start off with an old music page, and you could either find scrapbook paper that looks like this, or find some old music sheet music, or print something off online. But I found one that I thought was going to be perfect for this DIY. The hymn is, oh gosh, hang on a second. Okay, this song is called All Things Bright and Beautiful, and it talks about the creatures of the earth. So I thought it would, you'll see, I think it thought it was going to go well. So what I'm doing is wanting to tear this into pieces so that I can fit it onto the piece we're going to be decoupaging on. And what I'm doing is just with a paintbrush and a little bit of water, running that along the places where I want to tear it. And that way there's a tear instead of a harsh cut line. I just think it looks better, or looks more of what I'm wanting to do. Anyways, this metal house is the base. This is from the Dollar Tree. They've had these for a long time. They even have different shapes, but I had this one already, so this is what I'm going with. And I decided to, I don't know that all of these steps were necessary, but I didn't want to regret having a base coat in case any of the underside peeked through. Now, I did decide it'd be easier to paint this by taking it off of the base. Just a couple of screws. You don't have to do that. Could just put some painter's tape, but I just decided to. So I'm painting this with some white paint, and then I'm going to go in with a layer of antique wax. I probably would have just done like an ivory if I had any of that paint on hand, but I didn't. I just didn't want the metal to be peeking through, but with all of the added details that I added, I don't think it would be, I just said added twice. I don't think it would have been a problem. But this is what I decided to do with just working with what I had in front of me. So we're giving it a base coat of white and then going over it with some antique wax. I know that the antique wax isn't really supposed to be used as paint, and it does have a different surface, so it could peel off depending on, how you're using it, but it's fine. It worked. So once that was pretty dry, I don't think the antique wax was totally set, to be perfectly honest, but I just did a very light touch with my paintbrush, so I didn't pick any of that up. We're just going over this with some Mod Podge. And so we're going to do one strip at a time. I, off camera, had fiddled with these pieces of paper to kind of figure out what I needed to do to make them all fit. I did want them to also be somewhat readable, to like go in order. So you're going to see what I do at the top, because it fit pretty good here on the bottom, but then the shape of the piece, because it's a house, changes. So I'm mainly just putting a little bit of Mod Podge underneath, actually a lot of bit of Mod Podge, and getting it in place, putting a little bit over the top of the edges where needed. I decided to put something underneath it so that it wasn't angled down. And then I think I did Mod Podge the whole thing in the end, but here I'm just worried, focusing on the bottom part. And so the first lines were talking about all creatures, or all things bright and beautiful. Now, I already forgot the title of the song, oh my word. But the words at the beginning were the ones I wanted to make sure you could see. And so I tore it up and pieced it together so that even though they were on different lines on the paper, I brought them together so that you could still read everything and it still kind of looked cohesive. So I hope that makes sense. This is a rustic piece, so to me, it all ends up working pretty good. And then there was a couple bare spots, and I just took scrap pieces of the page that didn't have any writing on them and filled them in. And then we're going to let that dry completely. And then I'm going to, you could Mod Podge over the top. I don't actually think I did this time, which is kind of weird because I normally do. But I'm going to take some sandpaper. This is a handy little finger sander. I do go in with an actual sheet of sandpaper in a second too. And this works really well to get the edges off. And you just want to sand away. You don't want to sand towards you because you want to lift the paper up. And I did just, folded that to get into the area where the chimney was. And we're just going to clean up all of the edges there. Once the excess paper is gone, I'm going in with some antique wax. And I'm going to start by
putting a little bit around the perimeter of the house to kind of highlight it, also cover up any areas where you could maybe see the house underneath. And then I'm going to go across the whole thing. And this is going to vary. I started going a little bit for the places where the pages met, but I didn't want there to just be lines, you know, so I kind of smudged it, dabbed it with my paper towel. And then I wanted there to be heavier spots and then less heavy spots because I wanted this to just look old. So now that that is all done, we are taking this resin piece of this bird. My friend poured these for me. Haven't actually worked with resin yet, but she was so kind to send me a bunch of pieces that she had poured for me. And we're going to paint it first with white, which maybe wasn't necessary. I don't know. And then I'm going to go in really heavy with the antique wax once the white paint is dry and wipe it back with a paper towel. And it's going to really highlight all of the details on this little bird. If you don't have resin, you could do some clay, air dry clay in a mold, or you could use an embellishment that you could find. Check your craft stores and check in like areas of the craft stores that maybe you wouldn't think you would be finding stuff. I love finding pieces that and then using them maybe in a way that they're not intended to be used. So just kind of something to think about. Sometimes if you have a chance, sorry, I'm stumbling over my words. Take time to walk down every aisle of a craft store, just every once in a while. I know I don't have the time to do that every time, but every once in a while, it's fun to just see what I can find that maybe I would not have thought to like pick that item if I was just going and looking for craft items. I'm going to take this Gorilla Household glue and use that to attach this. I just thought that would work best, but there's probably a lot of different glues you could use. And I'm just rubbing it with my finger, just could use a paintbrush too, to the edges. I didn't want it oozing out, but I wanted to make sure that the whole piece was getting plenty of contact. And I held that down. I think I might have even put something on top to just help, hold it until it dried. And then I'm just going to use those little screws that were in there before and just put our piece back together. Let me know what you guys think of this. I love this. This might be my favorite from this video. But I'd love to hear what you guys think about it. And of course, you could add a pop of color with the bird if you wanted, but I was just kind of going for this old, more rustic look. And I am very pleased with how it came out. I hope you like it as well and are inspired to create something of your own. This little frame is also from the Dollar Tree. Now, it originally came, I believe, in a plain wood color, and I had previously painted it white. Everything else about it is just as it came. So I am sanding down the white a little bit, but not totally because I actually do want some of that to kind of come through. You'll see and have seen if you watch my other videos, I tend to go for a little bit more of a rustic look, not a super polished look. I like the chippy, kind of farmhousey type of look. So, or maybe it's more like vintage and old. I don't know. I don't know how to classify my style. I feel like when you look them up, there's always so many different definitions and different interpretations of what they mean, but I like what I like, and that's usually what you see here. But you can, of course, do it however you want. But I'm going to go over this with a little bit of antique wax so you can still see the white through there. For this next piece here, I am taking a rub-on transfer that someone gave to me, and it's like a little seed packet, I think. And I'm putting it on a piece of cardstock I think it's cardstock. Just this brown one. We're going to basically not be able to see that afterwards, but I needed something firm to kind of attach this rub-on transfer to. Now, I have been blessed with people who have just gifted me some transfers, but Dollar Tree has had some really nice ones, but if you're looking for more variety, they haven't come out with new ones in a while. There is so many to choose from online. Kristen K shows transfers all the time, and I need to actually look into some of them because, oh my word, they're so pretty. So check Amazon for rub-on transfers. IOD has some. Use your imagination. But we're going for like an old rusticy piece, I suppose. So I trimmed it down, but then I wanted the bottom of this looked like a torn page kind of, but I couldn't really get that. So I tore off the bottom, but then I just kind of roughed it up, just was using my fingernail or this metal tool, just anything I had to kind of rough it up. And then I went around the edges with some antique wax so that you couldn't really see all of that. Again, I'm just brushing on some water. It was a little tricky because once the transfer was on the paper, it is almost like a plasticky finish. And so it doesn't just tear, but I just kind of worked with it until I got something that just kind of look roughed up. I guess I could have just taken the whole thing maybe and tried crinkling it with my hand. But the goal is to make it look a little old and worn, and I think it did, come out that way. So going over the antique wax with the edge along with across the whole thing, just like you see me do in a lot of my pieces. And then you can kind of wipe it back a little bit, just making it look old. And that was kind of the only point of this project. And then just added that to the little clip on the frame. And I thought this was a really sweet little piece. Just kind of a great little layering piece that you could add in with like a figurine or a candle or on a stack of books, something along those lines. So I thought it was pretty and really simple to do. And so many different varieties. You could put whatever you want on this little clip. This little barn sign is also from the Dollar Tree. I have done the process of taking off the paper. I've shared that with you a lot of times, but if you're unsure, just spray it with some water, set a paper towel on there, let it soak in, and then scrape. And you may have to repeat that because sometimes there's like a couple layers of like the paper, the glue, that kind of a thing. You could also sand it, but I got it all cleaned up. So I don't actually remember what it said originally from the Dollar Tree when I first got it, but it is from the Dollar Tree, of that I am certain. I think it was a Valentine's thing actually. Anyways, we're going to paint this with some white paint, and I'm just using an angled brush to be careful near the top so that I didn't get anything on the roof line. We are going to paint that as well, but just trying to keep it easy for myself. So I'm going to give that a couple coats of white paint, and then we're going to go in with some black for the roof line. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Leanne, and I enjoy sharing budget-friendly DIYs here on this channel. I like to just be creative, make little home decor pieces. Sometimes I do some outdoor decor. If you're looking for some of that, I just posted a video with a bunch of summer and spring stuff for the porch. But I like to do it on a budget, keep things user-friendly, just nothing super complicated, but having fun. If you're into that kind of thing, please consider subscribing to my channel before you leave. To help me not get any black paint on the barn that I had just painted, I just took a piece of cardstock and kind of shoved that in there. It was just easier than going around and taping it all off. And the outer edge of all of this was white, and I left it that way. Now here are some IOD. I believe these are IOD. I might be wrong. I should probably look at that. But these are some beautiful transfers that someone gave to me, and very, very blessed. And I thought this little rooster on the weather vane, or I guess the rooster is part of the weather vane. I don't know. I thought this was cute. Very simple. Didn't even distress this piece at all. I know guys, I didn't even distress this piece. Just kept it really simple. But if you can get your hands on some stencils or some rub-on transfer or decoupage paper, you can transform the simplest of things with a simple process into something totally new. This is one of those things that is so simple. It's hard to call it a DIY, but I did do it myself, so it is a DIY. This ceramic plate stand came from the Dollar Tree, and I wanted to pull off the kickstand because we're not going to use this as something that stands up. And then I went to pull off the back, and it came off easily. Not like easily like it was falling apart, but when I went to pull on it, it did come off pretty easily. And then I'm just going to replace the bottom with this sheet of cork. This comes from the Dollar Tree as well. I just wanted to have a nicer looking base. I will say I wish I had done better with my circle. I feel like I should have just used a glass or something to cut it out because it was kind of hard because I was tracing like the bottom part of the plate. I don't know. It's not a big deal. Nobody's really going to see it. But I traced out and cut out what's supposed to be a circle. And this has a really, really strong adhesive. But because I wanted to be a little bit extra, I did add on a little bit of hot glue. Although, being honest, I don't think that it was probably necessary to do that because, like I said, this adhesive on the back of this cork is really, really strong. Did I mention that cork is also from the Dollar Tree? Anyways, we're going to put this on the bottom just to give this, making sure this doesn't scratch the surface when it is set down. That's pretty much what we're doing here. And then I'm just going to clean the plate with some rubbing alcohol just to get off any, finger residue, body oils and all of that. Anyways, I have this transfer, once again, that someone gave to me, and I'm going to fussy cut it and get all of the leaves off because the flower itself fit perfectly on this. So that's what I'm going with. This is really simple, but my thought for this is to be a little like trinket dish or like jewelry holder. And I'm going to place it on the bathroom counter in our guest bathroom for our guests. I don't know if anyone will actually use it for that or not, but that is what I had in mind for it. And this transferred so easily. I literally just used my fingernail. The transfer just attached super great. And this is part of a huge transfer. So even if you do invest in some more expensive transfers, you can cut them apart and do so many projects with them. So just something to keep in mind if you do want to venture out and spend money on that. You can still do it budget friendly, even if you buy, say, like one set that might be a little bit pricier. When you break it down, it is still very budget friendly. Now, because of where I want to use this, I decided to give this a coat of dishwasher safe Mod Podge. Doesn't have to be that one, but because I had that in my stash, I decided to do that, thinking that if I needed to just wipe it out because it got dirty sitting on the counter, that it would be easy to wipe clean. And I think this is really pretty, very simple. I kind of went more neutral for the space that I'm using it in because I don't know what colors I'll end up having in there, but I thought this was so simple but very pretty. This little faux window pane on a stand is also from the Dollar Tree, and I had previously painted it, but we're going to paint it a different color. I think it just was like a wood color maybe when I first got it, but there was a little screw in the top there, so I took that out, and then I am going to cover up the back. I think I just didn't want to have to mess with painting the kickstand. So I'm just throwing some paper underneath there to cover it. And we're going to paint this with Celery by Waverly. I really, really like this color. I feel like it is a nice spring/summer color, but also a really great neutral. I feel like there's so much that goes with it. So it's a great way to add in color, but it easily can go and mix in well with a lot of other stuff that I already have. So we're going to give this a pretty good coat of white or of celery. And I'm going to paint in like the edges where all the little cutouts are, but I'm not worried about going too hardcore on that because we are going to distress this. So I'm going to, once it's all dry, we are going to sand it back because I wanted the white and the original base color to come through because I just wanted that chippy rustic look. If you're not into chippy and rustic, then just paint it solid. Paint it a bright color, paint it black. You could paint it bright pink, paint it whatever you want. But this is the look that I do like, and I do find that it's very easy to DIY with because it kind of does cover, if you do have problems. So we're going to just sand that down. Obviously, you just want to make sure your paint is fully dry. And then the back side, I left white. I just kind of sanded off any place where some of the green paint came through because, I do want it to still look nice from the back. I don't know now if I should have just painted the kickstand the celery green as well. I don't know. Let me know what you think about that. If you are enjoying this video, please give it a thumbs up. Hit the like button or the thumbs up button. It really is a simple way to help me out. It doesn't cost you anything, but it helps boost my channel and boost my videos because YouTube's like, hey, people like this. We should show it to other people. So that would be awesome. So to embellish this little sign, I don't even know what to call it, I have some miscellaneous greenery in my stash. I always save all the little pieces and bits because you just never know. So we're gonna make a tiny little wreath. Be careful. Using hot glue on a mini wreath is even more dangerous than using hot glue on a large wreath. So I am using these little silicone protectors. I should have used more than one, but I only used one. But I didn't injure myself during this, so that's good. So I had a little leaf garland that was shaped into the shape of a wreath. And then I'm just adding in some different greenery because in a larger wreath, I feel like using multiple greeneries and different textures is actually what makes it look like store-bought and a little bit more high-end. So even though this is just a really tiny mini wreath and it doesn't matter if it looks high-end or not, I just think that is a really great way to kind of step it up a notch. So that's what I did. And then I'm just going to pull off these little white flowers. I'm sure these at least are from the Dollar Tree. I'm not sure about everything else. And I'm just going to trim them down and tuck them in different places just to make a little spring wreath. I didn't have a lot of little flowers, otherwise I might have done a different color. I thought that would have been nice, but the white, of course, will look great and works just fine. And I'm just using hot glue to kind of tack it down to help hold not just the base of it, but also the top of it in place as well. When you're hot gluing things like this, really hold it down until the hot glue starts to set a little bit. Otherwise, it just kind of bounces back up. So you want to hold it in place so that that glue can set. And then I'm just going to put in this little screw back in there to hang our wreath on. And then I decided a little bow would be nice. This lace ribbon, I love it. It is from the Dollar Tree. And to me, it's got a nice little like dainty touch, but still looks rustic. I don't know. I really like it. So I'm just going to do a simple bow and trim that down and hot glue that onto the top of our wreath. And that is also covering up the screw that the wreath is hanging on. I probably should just change it out for a smaller screw or nail, but actually maybe you couldn't see it through all the greenery. I don't know, but either way, I liked this little dainty touch to this project. Let me know what you guys think about this one. I love how this came out. I think, again, some of these things are just nice layering pieces on a shelf or in, you know, a little, vignette. Just so nice to have multiple different things of different heights and colors and textures and all of that. So I really like how this one came out.
That is it for today's video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And if you're new here, I would love it if you would consider subscribing to my channel so you don't miss out on my future videos. If you are here, say hello down in the comments. Not only does that help me out, but it also lets me know that you are here, and it's always fun to have a little bit of interaction. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.